December 2001. America's seventh largest corporation files for bankruptcy. $63 billion vanish. Thousands of employees lose everything. Wall Street is stunned, not because Enron collapsed, but because no one could clearly explain how. This is the story of Enron. A company that appeared to sell innovation, generated billions on paper, and collapsed while the world applauded. Enron didn't start as a scam. In 1985, it was a boring Houston pipeline company, created from a merger. Its business was simple: move natural gas through pipes. No hype, no headlines, just infrastructure, the kind of company only accountants paid attention to. Then came Kenneth Lay. Lay had a PhD in economics, political connections, and a powerful belief in deregulation. He argued that if the government stopped controlling energy prices, companies like Enron wouldn't just deliver energy, they could trade it. Energy wouldn't be consumed, it would be financialized. Gas became something you could buy, sell, hedge, and speculate on, just like stocks or bonds. Enron pivoted from utility to trader, positioning itself not as an energy company but as a market maker. To execute that vision, Lay hired Jeff Skilling. Skilling was a former McKinsey consultant, sharp, confident, and obsessed with efficiency. He believed markets were always right, spreadsheets told the truth, and talent justified aggression. His pitch was bold. Enron wasn't in the energy business, it was a technology company. We don't sell energy, he told investors. We sell the future of energy. Wall Street bought it. The breakthrough came with Enron Online, a digital platform where massive energy contracts could be traded instantly. With a few clicks, millions of dollars changed hands. What used to be negotiated slowly now moved at internet speed. Suddenly, Enron wasn't just a Texas pipeline firm. It looked like Silicon Valley wearing cowboy boots. The media fell in love. Fortune magazine named Enron America's most innovative company 6 years in a row. Analysts praised its creativity. Investors rewarded its stock. Inside the company, confidence turned into arrogance. At Enron headquarters, pressure was relentless. Skilling told employees they were the smartest people in the room, and if you couldn't keep up, you didn't belong there. Bonuses were huge. Job security was fragile. Performance reviews were brutal. Every quarter felt like survival. Close deals, cut costs, beat expectations, and whatever it took to impress Wall Street, Enron would do it. Quarterly revenue jumps by double digits. A new contract locks in margins until 2009. Executives nod. Applause follows. Impressive. If Enron were a normal company. But Enron didn't see itself as normal. It called itself a market maker, a technology pioneer, a collection of elite minds reshaping capitalism. From the outside, it looked like the future. Ask one simple question, though. What does Enron actually do? And the answer was never simple. You'd get a whiteboard, a flood of jargon, 40 minutes of buzzwords. But the stock kept climbing, so no one asked again. As attention grew brighter, something underneath began to fracture. By the late 1990s, Enron wasn't just successful, it was legendary. Its stock price exploded from around $7 in 1997 to over $90 by 2000. More than a tenfold increase in 3 years. If you owned Enron stock, you weren't just rich, you were brilliant. The media called it visionary. Executives called it a celebration. But behind the champagne and polished presentations, reality was slipping. Enron had promised endless growth, bigger numbers every quarter. No slowdowns, no disappointments. But energy markets don't behave like social media trends. They don't explode on command, and they definitely don't grow forever. So Enron didn't adapt to reality. It rewrote it. They adopted a system called mark-to-market accounting, a legal method, but one loaded with temptation. Here's the trick. If Enron signed a 10-year energy contract, instead of recording profits as money actually arrived, it booked the entire projected profit immediately. Year one, day one. Future earnings became present income. On paper, Enron looked unstoppable, a profit machine printing success quarter after quarter. But many of those deals barely made money. Some hadn't even started yet. Others were based on assumptions so optimistic they bordered on fantasy. Projections replaced cash, confidence replaced caution, and accounting replaced truth. The numbers looked perfect. The business underneath them was anything but. Inside Enron, it was pure disorder. But as long as the illusion stayed intact, nobody dared to blink. And whenever the numbers refused to make sense, one man stepped in to make them sound right. Meet Andy Fasto, Enron's chief financial officer. Officially, his job was managing finances. Unofficially, he was Enron's head of financial storytelling. Fasto engineered a maze of off-the-books companies known as special purpose entities, SPEs. On paper, they were independent businesses. In reality, they were Enron puppets wearing fake mustaches. Here's how the trick worked. Whenever Enron had a bad deal, assets losing value, projects bleeding money, Fasto would quietly move them into one of these SPEs. To investors, it looked like Enron was cleaning house, reducing risk, and strengthening its balance sheet. But behind the curtain, Enron was secretly funding both sides of the transaction. It was like selling your broken car to your dog, giving him your credit card to buy it, and then proudly telling your family, "See, I made a sale." Fasto even named these entities with suspicious creativity: LJM1, LJM2, Raptors, because nothing screams trustworthy multinational finance like names that sound randomly generated by a video game. While liabilities were being juggled like flaming knives, something else was happening at the top. Executives were cashing out, bonuses worth millions, stock options exercised at peak prices, luxury homes, private jets, first-class everything. Meanwhile, regular Enron employees were encouraged, sometimes pressured, to load their retirement accounts almost entirely with Enron stock. Their 401ks became a single-bet casino. All in on Enron, Wall Street analysts kept applauding. Strong buy. Innovative. Visionary. Many of those analysts worked for banks that made massive fees from Enron ES stock offerings and deals. Conflict of interest? Optional. Revenue? Mandatory. The truth didn't disappear, it was buried. Layer after layer of jargon. Spreadsheets engineered to confuse, not clarify. Ethics treated like a software add-on. Complicated, inconvenient, and easy to disable. Enron didn't just tolerate confusion, it rewarded it. The unspoken rule was simple. If no one can explain what you're doing, you're probably doing it right. By the year 2000, Enron's image felt untouchable. A corporate superhero. A market genius. Too big, too smart, too innovative to fail. But underneath the armor, the structure was hollow. And all it would take was one crack. And then, someone finally asked the most dangerous question of all. Okay, but where's the actual money? August 2001, inside Enron Tower. Jeff Skilling, CEO of the hottest company in America, walks into his office, drops a resignation letter on the desk and leaves. No scandal. No emergency meeting. No press conference. Just a quiet, almost casual exit. The official explanation? He wanted to spend more time with his family. The real explanation? A red flag so big you could see it from space. Definitely from Texas. Weeks later, the SEC opened an investigation into Enron's off-balance sheet entities. In corporate language, that means we smell smoke. We just haven't found the bodies yet. Panicked but smiling, Enron brought back its founder, Ken Lay, as CEO. Lay stepped in with the calm energy of a grandfather who just accidentally deleted your homework and says, "Don't worry, sweetheart. It's fine. Everything is normal. Business as usual. Just another Monday." But inside the company, not everyone was convinced. One of them was Sharon Watkins, a vice president who had started noticing something deeply wrong. The numbers didn't add up. The explanations felt rehearsed. The risks were hidden behind walls of jargon. So she did something rare. She told the truth. Watkins sent a private memo to Ken Lay with a blunt warning. "I am incredibly nervous that we will implode in a wave of accounting scandals." That memo should have triggered alarms. Instead, it triggered meetings. An internal investigation followed, but not to fix the problem, to manage it. Ken Lay's conclusion wasn't we might be committing fraud, it was we need better messaging. Because at Enron, perception wasn't just reality, it was the product. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Outside the company, a few stubborn journalists and skeptical analysts started poking around. They asked uncomfortable questions. Why is Enron's business model so impossibly complicated? Who actually owns these mysterious off-balance sheet entities? Why do their financial statements look like they were beaten with a shovel? Enron's response? A glossy PowerPoint. 3 buzzwords: and a polite corporate version of trust us. But trust was running out. And once that happens, no amount of innovation theater can save you. Because when confidence collapses, the fall isn't gradual, it's vertical. We are a revolutionary energy arbitrage and transaction optimization platform. We leverage volatility across mark-to-market derivatives inside a structured energy swap framework. Translation? No one had any idea what Enron actually did. Not investors, not analysts, not Enron employees. October 2001, and finally the mask slips. Enron releases a statement admitting to accounting errors. Corporate English for we didn't just cook the books, man, we left them in the oven until the house caught fire. The truth was brutal. $586 million in reported earnings never existed. Not miscalculated, not delayed, fake. That's not a rounding error. That's financial stage 4 cancer. The market reacts instantly. Sell everything. Sell the stock, sell the desk, sell the dream. Enron's share price, once flirting with $90 in August, collapses to under $1 by the end of November. 4 months, 99% of the company's value erased. Inside Enron headquarters, panic replaces bravado. Phones scream. Executives lock themselves in conference rooms. Employees stare at stock tickers like they're watching a heart monitor flatline. Then comes the final blow. December 2nd, 2001, Enron files for bankruptcy. Not just a failure, a financial extinction event. $63 billion in assets vaporized. At the time, the largest corporate collapse in U.S. history. Thousands of employees lose their jobs. Many lose their entire retirement savings because they were encouraged, pressured to keep everything in Enron stock. I saved for 20 years. I put every bonus into the company plan. I believed in them. The workers got pink slips. The executives? They got exits. Jeff Skilling walked away after cashing out roughly $70 million before the collapse. Andy Fasto quietly pocketed $30 million while building the fraud machine. Ken Lay sold millions in stock, while publicly telling employees to hold theirs. Beach houses for the top, bankruptcy for the bottom. But wait, wasn't someone supposed to stop this, you know? The adults in the room, the auditors, enter Arthur Andersen, once one of the legendary Big Five accounting firms, before it became the Big Four. Arthur Andersen was supposed to be the watchdog, the referee, the sober voice at a corporate party that had clearly gone off the rails. Instead, they were pouring drinks. Instead of stopping the chaos, Arthur Andersen turned out to be the one pouring gasoline on it. At Enron's corporate party, the auditors weren't guarding the punch bowl, they were spiking it. Arthur Andersen wasn't just auditing Enron's books. They were making millions consulting for Enron at the same time. Think about that. The firm hired to objectively verify the numbers was also advising Enron on how to design them. Conflict of interest? Gigantic. But this was the late 90s. Profits were loud, ethics were optional, and nobody wanted to ruin the vibe. Then the walls started closing in. Whistleblowers spoke up. Investigators showed interest. And Arthur Andersen didn't double-check the math. They hit the shred button. Thousands of documents vanished. Financial records, emails, backup tapes. FedEx boxes filled with evidence were fed into shredders like a panic-fueled paper buffet. Why is this thing so slow? We have a decade of bad decisions to erase before lunch. The firm later claimed it was just routine document retention. Prosecutors weren't impressed. Arthur Andersen was convicted of obstruction of justice. Their license to audit public companies was revoked. And just like that, a nearly 100-year-old firm collapsed overnight. Poof, 85,000 employees lost their jobs. Not for committing the fraud, but for helping hide it. And Andersen wasn't the only one with dirty hands. J.P. Morgan, Citigroup, Merrill Lynch. They helped structure Enron's off-the-books deals. They financed the lies. They collected their fees. Did they face prison? No, they paid fines. Large enough to sound serious, small enough to forget. The executives, though, couldn't all slip away. In 2004, charges finally landed. Jeff Skilling was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Ken Lay died of a heart attack before serving a single day. Andy Fasto pleaded guilty and got 6 years. Congress scrambled for damage control. Enter Sarbanes-Oxley, also known as Please Don't Lie Again. CEOs now had to personally sign off on financial statements. Auditors were forced to pretend independence was real. Too late for Enron. Too late for thousands of employees. But here's the real twist. This wasn't just a story about Enron, it was a story about belief. About what happens when people want something to be true so badly that they stop asking questions. For years, Enron sold the future. Wall Street bought it. The media applauded it. Investors defended it. And when the lights finally came on, the building was hollow, the profits were imaginary. And the smartest guys in the room were already gone. As the saying goes, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still tying its shoes.